The great thing about comic books is that you don't have to pay any big name actors to reprise the roles from the movie. I mean, I don't expect any movie characters to show up in the show anytime soon. HGSS Spirit's long-awaited return is here, and we finally learn what she has been up to since the movie. And without reading the dialogue on the first page, I can already tell that it contradicts what Twilight said back in school days. Because in that episode, she said that HGSS declined her offer to come to Ponyville to spread the word of the Storm King's defeat and what she has learned about friendship. The comic, on the other hand, implies that she indeed lived for a while in Ponyville before she decided to go to find a place where she belongs. She is also not exactly spreading what she has learned about friendship, but she is trying to make amends by helping every pony she comes across and fixing some of the damage caused by the Storm King's army, among other things. So yeah, technically speaking, this comic is non-canon by default, but then again it's a rather small contradiction and can be ignored for the most part. And admittedly, I like the way it is presented in the comic much more. It makes more sense, especially since Tempest didn't really learn that much about friendship. She only saw the error in her way and tried to make amends at the end. It makes sense that she at least spent some time with all the new friends she just made before storming off. But the comic also highlights that she is not used to all that friendship stuff, and some of it, like Pinkie Pie's party for example, make her uncomfortable. She is portrayed as a loner, which fits her character pretty well, though admittedly I would have liked to see Grubber accompanying her. He had a great dynamic with her in The Stormy Road to Canterlot, a chapter book which details Tempest's background story. But besides the chapter book, Grubber just seems like a waste of space in the movie, and this comic could have fixed that. But then again, it's not really a big loss, and this comic wants to portray Tempest as a loner, so having Grubber accompanying her would somewhat undermine that point. Now that Tempest concluded that she doesn't belong in Ponyville, she is searching for a new purpose in life. She hopes that it would simply come to her if she is just traveling around, helping those in need. She also points out that some were afraid of her, and we see that King Aspen seemingly mistrusts her. First of all, really nice to see that the deer made a cameo. I would really love to see them at some point in the show. Next thing, HGSS. Maybe other people would be more open-minded if you weren't still wearing your combat uniform with the Storm King's emblem on your butt. I mean really, it's like she is running around in an SS uniform a week after World War II in France. How do you expect the locals to react to that? Now I do realize that she is probably only wearing that uniform because it is, for the lack of a better term, an iconic part of her character design. The black armor makes her look pretty badass and unique, and she also has no official cutie mark design as of yet. If you go back to the movie prequel comics, which I also reviewed by the way, you will notice that her flank is covered up in pretty much every panel where you would get to peek at her cutie mark. Even the movie art book doesn't feature a cutie mark design, and since she is not a character created for the comics, they are probably not allowed to make something up. Since they can't show her flank, they decided to roll with her recognizable outfit. I can even think of the in-universe reason that Tempest has trouble leaving her past behind and basically still wears it because she is used to it or for nostalgia's sake. Maybe they actually have the plan to reveal her cutie mark in the next comic issue once HGSS has come to terms with her past and moves on, which would make her shedding the armor rather symbolic. But I think the least HGSS should have done would have been to either remove the emblem or covering it up. Also another small detail that really bothers me. We see that Tempest is using telekinesis to move parts of that destroyed airship. She shouldn't be capable of doing so. All she can do with her magic is create destructive energy balls. Now admittedly, both the prequel comic and the Stormy Road to Canterlot implies that she is still capable of using magic, but it is incredibly hard to control and way too dangerous. And it's probably rather telling that she never used telekinesis in the movie, even though it would have been handy in a couple of places. So basically, she's endangering herself and everyone around her in that panel. But since she didn't blow them up, The ponies are glad that Tempest helped them, and since Tempest is looking for an adventure, they recommend her to check out the Crystal Empire because there's always adventure stuff happening apparently. Now for some reason Cadence is there to greet her at the station. The entire scene is a bit weirdly staged. Fizzlepop's narration says that she would have known what she was getting herself into if she had asked more questions about the Crystal Empire, implying that she didn't know that Cadence was ruling it and that Tempest had no intention to see her. Cadence claims that she didn't know that Tempest was coming. So why exactly are they talking with each other? Now, the most likely case is that some pony recognized Tempest and brought her to Cadence, but it just seems like a scene in between is missing, and Cadence seems a little bit too nice towards Tempest. I know she's the Princess of Love and so on, but come on, Fizzlepop turned her into stone. She's allowed to hold a little bit of a grudge. Ignoring that small detail though, I actually like that conversation a lot. Fizzlepop's narration elaborates on her fox regarding the princesses. She understands Celestia and Luna, two powerful beings that control the sun and the moon, which is why she turns them immediately into stone without fighting them. Okay, small nitpick again, but no. The narration makes it sound like Tempest ambushed the princesses, which would have made sense, but in actuality she faced them head on. The only reason why you didn't fight them, Fizzlepop, is because the plot demanded for Luna and Celestia to be too stupid to put up a fight. Again, it was a very badly handled scene in the movie. Don't try to justify it, comic. In any case, while she can understand why there is a sun and a moon princess, she doesn't quite get why they are princesses of friendship and love. She somewhat gets the appeal of Twilight as she represents the thing she has lost, but Cadence, yeah, she is pink. She represents everything Tempest thinks is wrong with Equestria. Too much cute fluff, and she doesn't see what makes her so special. Well, Cadence manages to show off her humble side by admitting that she is not more worthy than anyone else to be a princess, and that she actually represents all forms of love and not just romantic love. Which is something the show so far has never really addressed, but yeah, it also includes love of your country and love for yourself, which is probably a rather important point as Tempest could probably learn a thing or two about loving herself. In any case, Cadence explains that she just has a lot of capacity for love and can channel it into magic, so it seems like she's just a princess of love because she happens to have a very special talent, but at the same time she admits that love cannot do everything. I think her gentle and humble nature probably shows off better why she is a princess of love than anything else. So, for what it's worth, I think this comic gives some interesting insight into Cadence's character as she is pretty much confronted with some of the most common criticism the fandom loves to throw at her. Of course, this conversation also gives quite a bit of insight into Fizzlepop's character as well. Not only do we see how she is still struggling to understand the concept of friendship and love, she still questions the workings of Equestria and explains some of her self-doubt. After she lost the ability to use magic, she found her place at the side of the Storm King, and she did well serving him. But now back in Equestria, conquering other nations and stealing their magic obviously won't do. It portrays Tempest as a warrior who doesn't know what to do in times of peace, which is emphasized when she asked why there is no princess of military air supremacy. Frankly, all things considered, they should probably just put Fizzlepop in charge of the equestrian military. Even if it's just for defense purposes, Tempest seems to have a knack for that kind of work, and, like she points out, the Storm King, or rather she, as the Storm King took a sweet time to arrive, had a really easy time conquering Canterlot. Cadence seems to have similar thoughts and asked Fizzlepop to help her border patrol. To some degree, it showcased Cadence's capabilities as a leader. She didn't know that Tempest was coming, but she assessed the situation rather quickly. Tempest is looking for a purpose. Cadence recognized Tempest's strengths and immediately gives her a task accordingly. And then comes the big twist. The pony in charge for the border patrol office is none other than Glitter Drops, one of Fizzlepop's old friends. She and another pony named Springrain, who is only mentioned in this comic issue, were the two ponies that played with Fizzlepop the day she lost her horn. Glitter is very happy to see her old friend again, while Fizzlepop is more annoyed than anything else. Now I gotta point it out, at first glance the whole setup feels oddly similar to the Crystalling. After the movie was released, people were quick to compare Starlight with Tempest. They both are unicorns that turned evil because they were abandoned by their friends. It goes even further if you have read The Stormy Road to Canterlot. In that book, Springrain and Glitter Drops left Tempest behind when they were accepted into Celestia School for Gifted Unicorns, like Sunburst did to Starlight. And now both Glitterdrops and Sunburst move to the Crystal Empire before they are reunited with their old friend. So yeah, at first glance it feels like they recycled the premise word for word. However, their reunion feels much different. Fizzlepop is not really interested in their reunion and just wants to get the job done, while Glitter is overjoyed and immediately wants to rekindle their friendship. Now obviously this seems a bit too convenient to be just a coincidence, and Fizzlepop suspects that either Twilight or Cadence set this whole thing up, but she also claims that she never even mentioned Glitterdrop's name and she only decided to go to the Crystal Empire on a whim, so it's not like Twilight could have planned anything. Though, interestingly enough, Twilight apparently set up so-called friendship traps when Fizzlepop was still in Ponyville. She asked her for a small favor so she can bump into other ponies that happened to need her help as well, so Fizzlepop had to spend some time with them and learn a thing or two about friendship in the process. Now admittedly a somewhat backhanded strategy, but this is what Twilight should have used on Starlight. Though admittedly maybe she only had the idea after the events of every little thing she does. While these friendship traps are set up to trick a person into spending time with others, they don't force you to do anything, nor is there any pressure. Twilight's approach before every little thing she does was to tell Starlight that she should meet with, for example, Pinkie Pie, to learn something about friendship. While the intention was innocent, Starlight felt pressured because she was told to meet someone and learn something, which is why Starlight avoided these friendship lessons for the longest time. These friendship traps on the other paw encourage you to spend time with others, as Fizzlepop would probably avoid them otherwise, and she can also say no if she doesn't want to. So yeah, I think this is a teaching method that at least works for a time. Though I can also imagine that Twilight never intended to set these up and it really was just one coincidence after the other. Fizzlepop is just a bit paranoid after all. Now Fizzlepop is not exactly thrilled, but as she promised Cadence to take care of whatever happened at the border, she tries to stay professional. Glitter explains that something is stealing food and destroys fences, so overall rather minor stuff. She guides Tempest to a pony named Icy Shanks to investigate. Now here we run into another small problem with this being a comic. Fizzlepop asks him what the issue is, which for some reason makes Shanks really angry. He does comment on her bad attitude, but it doesn't quite show in the artwork. I guess Tempest sounded really rude while asking, but since this is just a comic, we only see a rather neutral expression on her face. So to the reader it seems like Shanks got angry for no reason whatsoever, which makes him look like a total jerk. And then he draws attention to her broken horn like it is a bad thing, even though he shouldn't have been able to see it under her hat. Yeah, he basically insults her for being a cripple. Really great character here. In the Stormy Road to Canterlot, one of the reasons Tempest left Equestria was that she feared people would react to her like that when they see her broken horn. She was afraid that people would consider her a freak, and that guy simply validates her fear. Glitter tries to calm them both down, and Shanks is noticeably nicer towards her, but Fizzlepop can't take it any longer and walks off to investigate the scene. She also thinks about the day she lost her horn. And frankly it elaborates on an interesting aspect of why Fizzlepop resents her friends so much. She resents them not only because she thinks they abandoned her, but also because it could have happened to them as well. She just happened to be the unlucky one. It just seems so unfair that it happened to her. This is something that was brought up in the chapter book as well, in which she volunteered to do it because she was the bravest of the group. There she was more upset because she lost her horn in an act of friendship than sheer randomness though. Sure, resenting Glitterdrops and Spring Rain because they weren't harmed that day is obviously wrong as well, but it is easy to see why Fizzlepop would adopt such a mindset. Now Glitter says to Fizzlepop that she could be kinder, which of course triggers Tempest, who questions what Glitter would know about kindness, calling her Dropsy in a somewhat sarcastic way. A nickname that Glitterdrops hadn't heard in years, which leads Fizzlepop to the conclusion that she must have abandoned their common friend Spring Rain as well. Glitter, now confused, asked Fizzlepop what she did to make her so upset, which of course makes Fizzlepop even angrier, as from her point of view she was abandoned by both Glitterdrop and Spring Rain. Dropsy obviously doesn't see it that way, which would match her depiction in the Stormy Road to Canterlot. The movie made it look like they abandoned Fizzlepop immediately after they saw that she can't do magic anymore. In the chapter book it was different. Fizzlepop hardly left the house after that incident, but they still came to visit, trying to cheer up for months. I mean moons, however long that is. They tried to still be her friends, but then they revealed that they were accepted into Celestia School for Gifted Unicorns, but they assured her that they were certain that her horn would grow back eventually and that she will join them at the school next year, and that they will come to visit her as often as they can. So unlike Sunburst, who simply vanished from Starlike's life after he was sent to Celestia School, they still wanted to be Fizzlepop's friends, regardless of what happened. But they also wanted to move on and live their own lives. And there's nothing wrong with that. It might sound a bit harsh, but if something bad happens to your friend, you can't let that control your life as well. Sure, you should support them as well as you can, but you have to think of yourself as well. Now admittedly, maybe they should have told Fizzlepop that they are going to take their entry exam beforehand. Maybe she would have understood it better that way and encouraged them to move on. But at the same time, it is easy to see why a grieving Fizzlepop would see it as a betrayal, as they wanted to study there together. Like I mentioned earlier, it just doesn't seem fair to her, and she wasn't exactly mentally stable at the time. And here's an interesting tidbit. Spring is referred to as a he in this comic, while he was established to be female in the chapter book and the mobile game. That being said, while it is a bit hard to say thanks to the pointy-pony art style, it is still somewhat noteworthy that Springrate's muzzle is more square-shaped during Fizzlepop's flashback, which is usually the way male ponies are portrayed in the show. So maybe the game and the chapter book got it wrong. Though it should also be noted that everything in the Stormy Road to Canterlot should be taken with a small grain of salt anyway, as there are some contradictions to the movie and the prequel comics. In any case, Fizzlepop's and Glitterdrop's discretion is interrupted when they notice a trail of fish. Fizzlepop storms off as they assume it will lead them to whatever is responsible for the broken fence, only to run into an Ursa Minor. The tough Tempest shadow freezes in fear and becomes a small Fizzlepop again, looking at the monster that caused all the hardship in her life, and maybe it's going to end it now, leaving us on a cliffhanger. This comic is great. The only thing I can really complain about are some minor continuity issues, which are most likely caused by a lack of communication between DHX and IDW, but they are easy enough to ignore, though Tempest boasting about how she conquered kingdoms, when the prequel comics implied that they immediately went to Equestria after she joined the Storm King, seems a bit odd. There are also a few minor storytelling problems, which could have been avoided if this comic had like 2 more panels, but they aren't that important either. Besides that, however, this comic is as good as it can be. I love the way Fizzlepop is portrayed as a soldier looking for a meaning in life, not that she has no more battles to fight, and gets confronted with her past. I was afraid that it would feel too much like a retreat of the Crystalling, but it is handled in a much different way. Fizzlepop is full of resentment towards her old friend, while Glitterdrop is completely unaware why Fizzlepop is so upset and actually wants to be her friend again. If you haven't read The Stormy Road to Canterlot, you also get a much better insight of why Fizzlepop resents her friend so much and why she lost her faith in friendship, even if the comic also makes it clear that Glitterdrops didn't just abandon her like the movie implied. If you like Tempest Shadow, I would highly recommend reading this comic. Now of course, they might screw everything up in part 2, but we take that another time. But what about you? Did you read this comic? Did you like it? What are your thoughts on Fizzlepop, Berrytrist and her friends? Let me know in the comments below. I am Tricky Fox. Stay foxy.
Sly as a fox, you got me under your spell. But you know I'll never tell that I know you know so well. Sometimes you can be too smart for you're